Welcome. r/AskReddit. What's the most baddest thing you've accidentally said in the heat of the moment? A long time ago I was walking down a side street in a medium-sized town with my girlfriend. A car was parked ahead, with the front of the car facing us as we approached. I could see two kids, maybe in their late teens, and instantly could tell they were likely going to say something as my GF was rather attractive. As soon as we come up next to them, I hear, "Hey baby, ditch the zero and come hang with a hero." I could feel my blood boil, but I kept my cool and calmly said, "Sorry buddy, I'm not gay, and don't call my girlfriend a zero." The dude's friend started laughing at him, and my girlfriend made a sarcastic crying face. Then we both started to laugh. Kind of a proud moment for me. I was always really shy in school, had very few friends, was bullied a lot. My mum passed away when I was 14, and I kept it to myself, not wanting sympathy or more bullying for it. Someone found out, not sure how. They then said in one of our mutual classes that I should just die like my stupid mum did. The whole class heard and was shocked. Even the teacher was like a deer in headlights. I immediately got up to leave, but before I left, I turned to her, got up close, and said, "I've seen what cancer does to people. It hurts. And I would never wish that on anyone. Not even you." And I turned and walked out. A lot of people have me some respect for the fact that I stood up to myself, although people then knew my mum had died, which wasn't great. I ended up leaving the school a few months later anyways, but I was glad that I stood up for myself. I'm late to the party, but oh well. I work in waste management. I'm also a rather small person, like, they don't make clothes at Old Navy in my size small. I was wheeling a stack of drums out to our loading dock, navigating pretty much purely on instinct, since I couldn't see over or around them. Lo and behold, there's someone there chatting with the shipping people. I run straight into him. I'm surrounded by everyone in shipping, some fairly big dudes, and I feel amazingly embarrassed. I leaned around the drums to look at the guy I hit, and without even thinking, said, "The fuck you want me to do?" See through back quote M. Everyone burst out laughing, and the guy even opened the door to the dock for me. Every time I see him now he pretends to duck. Edit. I'm not going to grandstand about getting silver, but would just like to say it's my first one and it's a lot more exciting than I thought it would be, to be honest. I was in an acting class in college, and we were doing a scene where a couple was having a big drawn out fight. Multiple pairs went through the scene, and I studied it pretty hard, so I knew all the lines. We are about halfway through our performance when my partner clearly forgets what a line is. And because everyone was doing that scene, they could tell she had forgotten as well. Her next line was supposed to be, "Well, I'm sorry I asked." I'm not usually a quick thinker on my feet, but I just filled the second or two of awkward silence with, "I bet you're sorry you asked, huh," and continued on with my lines. Not overly badass per se, but the class and professor loved it and all laughed. Probably the only quick-witted thing I've ever done in my life. I already posted here, but I just thought of another story. There was this one extremely attractive girl in my COMM 101 class in college. One day, for a project where we interviewed other students, I was partnered with her. We ended up not finishing our questions in class, so I asked her if I could meet her somewhere to finish interviewing her. She said yes. Fast forward to the next day, I meet her after her dance group finishes rehearsal. I knock through the last few questions, and the final one which I ask is, "What do you perceive the future to hold?" She replies, "I don't even know what I'm having for dinner tonight. I have no idea what the future holds." So I say, "Well, if you don't know what you're having for dinner, do you want to have dinner with me?" She laughed, said yes, and though we only hooked up that night, I still look back on that day as one of the best dating stories I've had yet. At work at a company meeting, someone was presenting something cool they volunteered to work on and finished. They then explained things they thought they could do better in a self-deprecating way, and a bunch of other people started railing into his work with petty criticism. It was definitely good work, though, and a thought just hit me, so I blurted it out. Sometimes done is the best feature. A bunch of people laughed, and then the criticism stopped. People gave him kudos and we moved on. Not really badass, but I was surprised this thought somehow came out fully formed, like it was some phrase I've been saying for decades. I guess I was just realizing how many people don't finish anything they start. So done suddenly seemed like a pretty damn good feature. Give the man some credit for finishing the damn thing. I worked in cell phone sales for a few years and a woman came in with a fairly new flip phone. This was 2018, we just still sold them. She was complaining cause one of the sides of the screen was dangling off and said she didn't do anything, it just snapped, and demanded a new phone. I told her, that looks like physical damage and we don't have any coverage for that since you didn't buy a phone protection warranty. She insisted it wasn't physical damage and the phone just sucks and broke itself. She started freaking out and calling me all kinds of names and swinging her phone in my face, and then the top half of the phone literally snapped off and landed on the counter in front of me. I just looked her in the eyes and said, well, that was definitely physical damage. She lost her shit at my comment, and it was weirdly satisfying. At work, project management undercut and mismanaged a project so badly. They pushed getting minimum viable product out with the goal to roll out improvements later. Product released, they all patted themselves on the back and moved on. Then that minimum viable product broke. In a meeting we had with our directors about how it's so broken and the cost to fix it etc. No cost too big, unlimited manpower etc. I asked how come we couldn't afford to do it right, but we can afford to do it twice? Big burly former marine/mercenary from Iraq was backstage side, huge fucking mountain of man. We came to face each other in one of the narrow corridors of the office where one of us was gonna have to turn sideways. Neither of us turned, but we stopped. I'm 6 feet 1, 260, and he still towered over me. He was a nice guy, but still a little conditioned. I guess you could say all mentally unhinged. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "You feeling froggy?" It truly was like something out of a movie. Without blinking I replied, "You better jump." We both cracked up and turned sideways, while the office breathed a collective sigh of relief. Partly accidental. Was doing a university project, had to do a large presentation in front of maybe 50 to 60 other students about a possible business of manufacturing an education toy for kids. It was a bit of a train wreck, as no one else in the group had rehearsed or even read the script. As with all presentations, they asked for questions at the end, and I stepped up to answer questions. There was one guy at the back that always asked awkward questions, like what if someone were to injure themselves and sue you, or have you factored in matching employees' pensions? It was meant to be a fun project for first year students. They weren't expecting tons of detail. When it came to asking questions, I volunteered to answer them. The guy opened right away asking awkward questions, but he misjudged how anal I'm with details. I asked the lecturer hosting the session if I could load up my spreadsheet. He allowed it. That's when the guy realized he had asked the wrong guy. I had made an automatic spreadsheet that would work out how many people were needed, how many machines, what hours people could work, rolling production over 24 hours, and overlapping shifts to ensure it all worked at maximum efficiency. Add to that it worked out costs, complying to the law exactly, including pension contributions, tax amounts, holidays, time off work due to illness etc., insurance, rent and more. When it came to asking his group questions, I asked him every single thing he had overlooked legally, like time off for work, pay increases etc. On the way out the other groups gave me a smile as it had shut him right up. I actually said nothing. I was on my motorcycle in traffic, on a wet overpass with short jersey walls. Guy behind me was driving a bit too fast and slammed on his brakes, sliding into me, but no damage as he was going slow enough to touch and push me about 5 feet before finally coming to a stop. The angle had me going straight forward, so I did not fall. Had it been much faster I would have been thrown over the edge to my death. So obviously I was not happy. I turned off the engine, got off the bike and slowly walked over to the driver that hit me. It's only a few feet, and when he saw me coming to him, he furiously started raising his manual window, so I could just see him struggling to pump the winder. When I got there I just knocked on his window, pointed at him, and turned around and walked away. He looked terrified. I didn't think about it until later. A guy you just hit in a car wearing a black helmet with shaded visor, black heavy thick jacket, black heavy riding pants, road crafter jacket and pants, black thick and metal studded gloves, and black leather boots knocks on your window and points at you for being a supreme dumbass. I had no idea. I just wanted to talk to him. Be a bit angry, but tell him I was okay, then take a secretary to verify my bike was okay as well. When I was in high school, I joined the show choir band as the electric guitar player. I was generally a pretty shy kid, so being surrounded by the show choir crowd was a bit of an adjustment. I remained mostly pretty quiet at rehearsals and such and just kind of showed up and did my thing. During one of our competitions, we had just received results from the daytime round and were told we had scored just a few points short of first place. As our director made his way through the feedback from the judges, one thing that was mentioned was great band, but need more guitar. One of the singers turned to me and said, "Dude, you should rip a solo in finals." I politely shook it off, as I figured there was no way this idea would fly with the director. But before I could get that thought across, there was already more singers chiming in and chattering over it. I figured what the heck and spoke up to the team, saying I was willing to give it a try. There was some awkward silence. In an effort to break it up, I muttered the judges said they want more guitar. I think I can provide that, and the room erupted. Everyone went out fired up, and we performed easily our best show of the year. I played the solo during one of the dance breaks at the end, and got a big roar from the crowd to ice the cake. Devastatingly, we came in second, and certainly felt robbed, but the guitar solo ended up becoming a mainstay for our show after that. I was the lawyer in this criminal case arising out the Standing Rock events. That morning, some Lakota people had given us this traditional blessing to wish us well for the trial, and there were 5 to 7 activists sitting in the courtroom to watch and support us. It happened that there was a certain digital document that I needed before the jury got back from a break, and we didn't know just when the break would be over. I remember turning to the supporters holding up a thumb drive and telling them exactly what I needed from the office across the street and how to get it. I held out the thumb drive and with all the intensity of an ancient general sending his troops into battle said, "Fastest runner, go now." This tiny little young woman grabbed the thumb drive and hauled ass. She got back before the jury returned. Had an older lady road rage me. Long story short, I pulled into a parallel space in front of the cop shop, and she ass-ended me going 30. But she wasn't done. She backed out, drove up the street, turned around and then smashed into me head on, screeching the entire time. The officers came out in time to see her smash me a second time. I got out all shaky-legged, wide-eyed and scattered. A cop came and helped me get up the curb while another was pulling the woman out of her vehicle. She was screaming about young people being bad drivers, screaming at me being a disrespecting millennial. I replied, "Ma'am, I may be a millennial, but at least I won't be in jail for child endangerment, you fucking musty bag of skin." She didn't realize my 4-year-old was in the car. The cop busted up laughing as she was screeching about my foul language. I went in for the dirty word kill, calling her a slimy cum sock, a cobwebbed old fuckball, whatever I could think of. The cop admonished me, but was still chuckling. I was pretty sure this lady was purple, she was so angry. I went to her court date. She lost her license permanently, already had 10 points, had to do 80 hours of anger management, 120 hours of community service, and was credited for 3 days in jail. She was 84. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.